Checking YouTube live stream health. Everything looks good there. We'll install the beach background in honor of Wild Bill for America. And we'll be going live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, good evening and welcome to Easter Eve. And on this special season, on this special day tomorrow, Easter, the purpose of everything, when you get right down to it, we have Wild Bill in our green room. And I cannot wait. I don't know if you don't subscribe to his YouTube channel, do that right now. You can come back and watch this later. Go subscribe to the Wild Bill for America YouTube channel. He put out a video this morning that's actually quite typical, but he really knocked it out of the park. And what I'll do is I will ask the Magic Genie, if you would, Genie, just go ahead and just unfold those monitors and bring them down into our studio. And having done that, we'll lock everything in. And we are good to go. There's Wild Bill for America himself. Bill, last week you had no hat at all, and you had no comment about no hat. Tonight is a black hat night. Any particular reason for that?
Even patriots have bad hair days.
And that implies you have good hair days.
Yeah. You know, I wore the uniform for 24 years. I tell you, Mark, it feels good to get a little shaggy once in a while. And that's about as wild as I get.
You're not the first to do that. My wife's cousin, who recently passed away, worked the security for the governor's mansion all of his career.
Really?
But as soon as he retired, he grew a beard like Santa Claus and long, all that, and just, I guess it just gets bottled up and you got to let it out. But, boy, the scenery, of course, we have very good scenery here in the PJNET studio. You see the beach in the background. It's beautiful, but it's not real. But this morning you were on the real beach, and that is exactly where you'll be tomorrow.
That's right. Sunrise service. Easter is here. The numero uno holiday for the entire world. The most important day in the world was the resurrection of Jesus Christ. And as you well know, Christmas and Easter are, for many people, the only days of the year when they actually stop to think about their relationship with God. So we don't dare miss that.
Well, if I were a pastor, I would like to say, hey, it's good to see everybody here. By the way, we meet 51 other weeks of the year.
Oh, I'm sure they've tried.
Yeah, we have our biannual people. And, of course, what's really disgusting is when it's political season, you'll see political candidates coming to church who seldom go to church, but they find it politically convenient to place themselves in church during the campaign season. That I don't care for.
I have actually seen Hillary Clinton wave a Bible. Just like a Bible thumper. Yeah.
I would think she would be waving goodbye at it as she gets further and further from the truth therein. But fortunately, it's a great, who was it the other day, said it's a great day. We're on this side of the dirt and Hillary is not president.
I tell people all the time, if you're having a bad day, just think, Hillary is not president. It's a great day to be an American.
But for some people, Trump being president, they just make that into a bad day somehow. Anything he does, they'll find a reason or the motive. They'll speculate as to the motive behind it, and it's quite hilarious. He posted that tweet the other day, which was the first tweet I've ever seen him incorporate some decent graphics and art. There was YouTube after YouTube criticizing and speculating the significance of the font that he used.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, one of the topics I want to talk about tonight is the most savagely abused president in American history. Donald Trump has weathered a storm of just hatred from his own people, his own government colleagues, like no other president in American history. And as an American, I am deeply ashamed of the way our president has been treated by people who call themselves American. It is disgraceful. We are a world laughingstock because of this Democrat liberal nightmare of bullying. And it all was instigated by Hillary Clinton. James Woods had a tweet out the other day. It was a picture of Hillary Clinton, and he tweeted, "Our country has gone through 2.5 years of hell because this drunken old hag didn't get her turn."
I
Bam!
think I saw that one. Yeah,
James Woods has a way of hitting home runs.
yeah,
I need,
he
I need to
does.
give him a video camera and tell him to get online. So
Yeah,
I'll know how to do Wild James for America videos.
yeah. For those of you who would like to have James Wood appear on this program on PJNet Live, let James Wood know. we'll, we'll step aside and let him just have it. But yeah, that was one of them. But the one I saw, and I do not live on social media like a lot of people do, and like in fact I used to when I had more time. But the tweet that I saw that had the most impact on me was Mitt Romney. It got 7,500 tweets when I was there last night. But hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of replies and comments. And Bill, I am not making this up. They were all bad. To the every last one. There was not. I could not find one good word being said about him or his tweet in the response. And I don't know what he intended, but he sure got it blew up in his face, as it should.
I didn't see it.
Oh gosh, he basically said that he read the Mueller report and it was disgust. I'll pull it up.
I did that. He was disgusted with Trump's behavior.
Yeah.
Well, Mitt Romney has proven himself to be a rhino for many years. Nobody trusts him on either side of the aisle. He absolutely betrayed us when he was a presidential candidate, and I don't think anybody expects him to change his stripes anytime soon. He just needs to go away. So this is the time when people are jostling to get in position for the presidential race, and he's just one of the losers that's trying to turn it around. John Kasich is another one who at one time was considered a conservative, but he has just totally fouled things up so bad. I don't know if he's a Republican or a Democrat anymore.
I wonder if it weren't Trump, if there's any other president that has occupied the Oval Office that had the skin thick enough to endure what Trump has endured, not only from his enemies, but from supposedly his own team.
Well, we're just now seeing the start of his team turning on him. The what I call the Obama Republicans, the ones who rammed Obamacare down our throats, are still there. They're still in Congress. They opposed Trump viciously before he got elected, and now they appear to be going along with him because he has been so popular with the American people. But I guarantee you, Mark, the day is coming when they will plunge their knives into Trump's back, and they'll do it for the good of the country, of course. Mm-hmm. So that the Democrats and the Rhino Republicans are eager to get back to politics as usual. Those people tend to make an awful lot of money while they're in Washington, D.C., and Trump is a bit of a threat to that. So I am seriously concerned about this upcoming election, the 2020 election. Now, there's no doubt in my mind that Trump is definitely going to win the majority vote. He's got millions of sympathy votes just because of the way he has been so savagely bullied. And I think he's going to win in a landslide. But the concern is that the Democrats have been perfecting the art of stealing elections. That it may not matter how many of us vote for Donald Trump to have a second term. It just might be taken from us, Hillary Clinton style.
Well, I know if they could gain control, I say I know, I feel certain that if they could gain control of all three houses, they would make every effort to institute the popular vote to replace the Electoral College, and that would be a disaster for our republic. It literally would be that would be hard to reverse. It really would.
I would, and it would result in dividing this country into conservative and liberal areas. We would be the divided states of America.
Right. You would have Los Angeles, New York, and the rest of the country, because Los Angeles and New York, the population of those combined, pretty much equals the rest of the country. It's crazy.
What conservatives would have to huddle together to defend themselves against the federal government and the liberal states. It's these are definitely uncertain times in America, and but there are some bright spots. I've been asked tonight to speak at the Young Republicans Club on June 6th, and so I'm going to be meeting with the teens and young 20-somethings who are doing a bang-up job of promoting conservative values among the millennials. So we dare not get discouraged. You know, as Christians, as Americans, we cannot allow that in our spirit. And I've seen a lot of discouraged conservatives, and my message whenever I speak at a group is, you know, hold your head high. You know, live in the spirit of our forefathers and know that, you know, God has not given us a spirit of timidity, but of power and love and self-control. And one of the things that causes conservatives to become so discouraged is, first and foremost, gorging themselves on bad news. They're on the internet all the time, you know, just tearing themselves apart by looking at the liberal nonsense that's going on. And the second thing that causes discouragement in Christian conservatives is they don't do anything active to make a difference. They sit at their keyboards and complain.
Right.
You know, those two things are toxic to the spirit of America. We got to get them out. We got to.
Well, they're toxic. Yeah, and you're right, Bill. You're onto something there, because I have been preaching for some time. One, that I wanted PJNET to be a platform of good news, encouragement, hope, yes, and strengthening one another. And I freely admit that, look, if I thought all that complaining on, I go to Blog Talk Radio, if you want to hear these people who they huddle up and complain, and I thought, and what effect has that had on public policy?
Yeah. Well,
okay.
Another imitation of a typical Tea Partier.
Yeah.
Things are bad.
Yeah.
Things are getting worse.
Right.
Now, really bad. Somebody ought to do something.
Well, yeah, we need to do something, but nobody wants to take the lead. And you had some calls to action in some of your earlier videos this week to that effect. The new leaner, meaner Tea Party 2.0, or to that effect, which I thought was very effective video. But the thing is, saying those words are great, but can we penetrate? Well, I'm encouraged that next week, or I don't know when, you didn't say when it was, but if you can speak to the young Republicans, that is an important mission that you're on, and you let them know that us old folks, okay, would welcome them with open arms, because we need to be recruiting the next generation of Christian conservatives.
The bigger, meaner Tea Party thing, that this young Republican thing is going to fit right into it, because, you know, I think that the Tea Party has essentially spent way too much time wagging their tails when they should be showing their fangs. You know, we are dealing with mean, nasty people, and there is no compromise with evil. And the Democrat Party mart is sold out on un-American, godless evil, and they simply need to be defeated. And so what I want is for the Tea Party to start dropping their events right in the middle of enemy territory. And college campuses are ideal. So what I'm hoping to do is to encourage the young Republicans and the Turning Point USA teams and young people to invite Tea Party speakers to come to their college or university to speak. And you know what will happen. The university will rescind the invitation for fear that there might be protests or that people's feelings might be hurt. Well, guess what? We're going to show up anyway. And instead of holding it in a hall with an audience, we will mass right on the steps of the dean's office, and we will do it right then and there and show them loud and clear that freedom of speech is alive and well in the USA. We need to lose our fear of the bullies. So that's going to be my theme, speaking to these young Republicans, is having the courage to take on the biggest, meanest bullies in America, because that's who we're dealing with. That's who we're dealing with. And the bullies have made it so intimidating that they are literally controlling the dialogue now. And we need to speak out loud and clear on the difficult issues. Number one being homosexuality, sexual perversion in America. Number two, Islam. The world's most violent false religion is coming into this country like a tsunami with guns and knives. And number three, abortion, feminism, all this stuff. Racism, the fake racism, like the video that I did today. We need to stand up and speak out clearly on that, because conservatives have been so terrified of being labeled a racist that they have voluntarily silenced themselves. That needs to change. So that's my plan for these young Republicans, is to fire them up and say, let's go pick a fight. Like Mel Gibson in Braveheart.
There you go.
Where you going? You want to pick a fight. Let's go.
I am. I was having it wasn't a long conversation. We were both on the clock, but there's a principled liberal where I work, and of course he's disappointed and all that. And I said, set aside the politics for a minute. I said, is there anything that could be done to convince? What truth would convince you that there was no collusion?
Good question. What do you say?
Well, we didn't have time to talk, but here's he had an interesting point that I would like to follow up with him and maybe even discuss on the air. Again, this is a very principled liberal, and in defeat, he said there's a lot of things in that report that are disturbing and are actionable. Maybe we should focus on what is actually in the report and not what we wanted. I mean, that was he didn't say it in those words, but I'm sure that the report may have brought to light some areas that need working on, and maybe they could do that. But they wanted the smoking gun, and they simply didn't find it. But I wonder what standard of truth would have been acceptable to them. I mean,
well, I have two things for you to bring up to your liberal friend. Number one is, why not stand down and let the President of the United States do his job? And number two, ask him the question, why in the world would Putin want Trump in the White House?
That was my question early on. If I were Putin, Trump would be the last guy I would want to have in the White House.
Right. Putin cannot push Trump around, but Putin could make Hillary Clinton do anything he wants just by writing her a check.
He could play the fiddle and she would dance.
Hillary,
no doubt about it.
For money. Is there anybody out there who doesn't think that Hillary would sell this country out for money?
Well, she doesn't have, she doesn't have enough. She's desperate.
Yeah, and the clock is running out on Hillary. What good does it do to gain the whole world and then forfeit your own soul? Well, Hillary's going to be a prime example of that scripture.
Hillary would know.
Yeah,
she would. But I told my liberal friend, I said, I give a little bit more credit to the American electorate. I said, when you use the phrase interfering with our elections, I said the imagery that comes to my mind is falling trees across the roads that lead to certain precincts,
right,
to where they can't get there. Stuffing the ballot box, rigging up the software to where you vote for one person but the vote goes to someone else. When you talk about interfering with an election, that's what I think of.
Yes.
But you mean to tell me a tweet? Are you serious? I assume that all of our enemies are using Twitter, Facebook, and all social media to propagandize, and I also assume that our government is doing likewise.
Oh,
I think that's just part of the political landscape. Politics has become the arena of propaganda. It is the theater of propaganda. We as citizens need to learn to think critically and say, is that true? Is there any evidence to support that? Or is that just an opinion?
we no longer have statesmen. We have actors. And
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
that's
And
why I'm the Constitution Party, Mark. The Constitution Party is the only political party in America that still stands strong for the God and country principles that made this nation great. So the Republicans are going to be surprised to hear that I'm not a Republican, and I'm going to let them know that right up front as soon as I get up to the podium.
that I'd be interested to know how that goes over, because I welcome participation regardless of you. Heck, I would welcome a principled liberal of the kind that used to be. There were a lot of Democrats in the South. I knew them. I used to be a Democrat, but that kind of meant you were from the rural areas, the agrarian, agricultural, not a city guy. But boy, that has changed.
My mom and dad were lifelong Democrats because the Republicans are for big business, the Democrats are for the little guys.
Little guy, yeah.
All they knew. That's all they needed to know. That's all they wanted to know, and they would vote straight Democrat ticket every time. So, JFK was a Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
You remember his great line?
Yeah.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Yeah. How would that go over today?
Would spit in his face. And the great hero of the left, Martin Luther King Jr., dreamed of a day when skin color wouldn't matter. They would spit in his face if he was alive today, because his policies are just diametrically opposed to the fake racism that the Democrats now rely on for political power. So today's Democrats have just been completely overrun.
And the ones that you see visibly, are just dashing as far left as they can. And I don't think this is a sustainable or even wise political strategy. You're this buddy guy or whoever.
Little Pete.
There's not. Put it this way: single issue candidates have never done well in any race. Okay, you can get a champion of guns rights, okay, but apart from that, you've got no constituency, or whatever the topic may be. But the people that tend to do well are good communicators and thought leaders. Name me a thought leader in the Democratic Party. I'd probably say Bernie Sanders. At least he has a theory.
Yeah, he does. But you got to remember, Barack Obama really didn't have a strong platform other than hope and change. And he got elected just because, it'd be so cool to have a black president. Oh, my.
Yeah.
And now we have little Pete Buttigieg. Oh, wouldn't it be so cool to have an openly gay president? Oh, my. So you got to remember, liberals vote with their emotions, not with their brains. Their brains quit functioning long time ago. Well, about the same time that liberal men's testicles stopped working. Anything can happen in this 2020 election. I know Donald Trump is going to win the vote, but I have no confidence that he will be allowed to serve a second term. Voter fraud is bad. The Democrats they cannot be any more poisonous than they are now. They are reptiles. So that's my take on the 2020 election. It is, well, we always say this, but this time it's true, the most important election of our lifetime.
I think it will be the biggest circus that we've ever seen. You've got a field, 18 or so have already declared to run on the Democratic side. You are going to see a circus of these people vying to clear the stage of other actors, and they will go to any extreme to do it. So I think it's going to be a circus. Now, how serious a contender they're going to bring forward, I don't know. It would be hard for me to imagine making Trump. And before the election, Bill, I was wrong on everything about Trump. Absolutely wrong. I said first of all, I thought the Republicans simply would deny him the nomination. They would rig the game somehow.
I think
But he got the nomination. I said, he may get elected, but he'll never get reelected. And I didn't vote for him, Bill, because honestly, I did not trust anything that he said. I didn't believe anything that he said. I trusted a fart when I've got the flu more than I did anything Trump says. But that man has done pretty much, not always, a few exceptions, but on the important things, he has done what he said he was going to do. And I could be persuaded. One of the best lines I heard: "We're not electing a pastor, we're electing a president." I thought,
we're electing a CEO, and we finally have a professional manager managing our country rather than the standard political hack. And wow, we are really seeing the difference that it makes to have an experienced manager in office. Yeah, I didn't trust any New York liberal, and Trump spent his whole life in New York City. So yeah, it took a long time for him to win me over. But I tell you, the man's track record speaks for itself now.
Yeah, I can be persuaded at this point. I really could.
A man of great compassion. He's the first president to have the courage to say that every child, born and unborn, is made in the image of Almighty God. And he moved the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem, in fact, of Islamic opposition.
Yeah, and when it would have been easier to do, the president's chickened out. But here's the funny thing: when that happened, there was wailing and screaming on the left.
Yep.
Well, at best I can tell, World War III did not start yet. It had its day in the news, but at the end of the day, life went on and we moved it. So this is the bark but no bite wailing from the left.
Yeah, Trump calls their bluff, which is something we should all be doing.
We ought to give that a shot. Yeah, we ought to give that a shot.
Oh, man, well, I tell you, though, I am very disappointed at Trump's progress on the wall and prosecutions of the bad guys, Hillary Clinton being at the top of the list. I voted for him for those two things. I want the wall built, and I want a copy of Hillary Clinton's booking photo right on the wall over my shoulder here. And it appears that if he's going to do it, he's waiting for the second term, which is stupid because he may not get a second term. And if Trump doesn't get a second term, there will never be any prosecutions for the Benghazi mess, the email mess, the uranium mess.
Bill, you don't know this, but basically PJNET was started on two things. Originally, it was called Newt Now, way back then. Obviously, that didn't pan out. But later, the Benghazi issue, galvanized us, and we worked and worked and worked, and we kept that issue. I literally have letters of commendations from Congressman Frank Wolf, who sponsored the bill to form the Select Committee to investigate. Now, here's the difference, and I told you that story because here's the point. The Select Committee eventually did exist, and Trey Gowdy, if you couldn't think of a better guy, he never lost a case. He was very popular. I thought, well, we won. We've got victory in the palm of our hands. Well, it went through its process, and nobody was ever held accountable. Nobody.
Not
for the
one,
deaths. Right. Nothing happened.
And one evidence ever was presented to a U.S. attorney for indictment. And when Trey Gowdy was asked why he didn't subpoena the server itself, he said, House rules wouldn't allow it.
Yeah.
Really, Gowdy? People didn't send you to Congress so that you could get your marching orders from the Hillary Clinton Republicans. They sent you to Congress to do what you do best, uphold justice. Trey Gowdy is one of the biggest disappointments I've ever seen in the House of Congress.
He's really fun to watch. He can make a speech, but where I knew that at the end of the day,
soundbite Gowdy.
There you go. He makes great sound bites, but when he could not attend, his flight was delayed. to vote for Speaker of the House. We were trying to get, and you may even know Webster from just down the road from you. He's a very moderate Republican, but he was fair and he wanted to be Speaker. But Trey said he would have voted for what's the Ohio? Yeah, Boehner. And I thought, why? But my point, here's my point, Bill. We had our day. It didn't work out. We just said you win some, you lose some. We worked hard in a very gallant effort that produced no results, but we moved on. Now compare that with the Mueller investigation. I mean, put the Benghazi committee and the Mueller investigation on the scales. Okay? Now the left is obviously disappointed in the outcome, but we didn't act like they're acting. We moved on.
No, we haven't moved on. Those 2 Navy SEALs are still dead.
Yeah.
There is no statute of limitations on murder. I'm a spokesman for Special Operations Speaks, a group of retired military commanders, and they push hard for the Select Committee, and they are terribly disappointed.
We're very disappointed, but we didn't wail and scream and cry foul. I mean, we lost, and I think that. Well, I could go on and on about how bad that is, because in my opinion, if you attack an American facility and there are literally no consequences, literally none. They didn't even fly a plane over to take pictures, for God's sake. All we did is went in there and mopped up the mess, cleaned it up and tucked our tail and ran. And that empowers and emboldens our enemies. And no one is held accountable no one in our government for negligence, no other government. They say, well, it wasn't the government, it was some rogue terrorists. Well, the government's supposed to control your rogue terrorists.
Benghazi Gowdy. I hope I get to meet him face to face. He will walk away knowing that not everybody appreciates what he did in Congress. So
he makes good sound bites.
Yeah. The 2020 elections are shaping up, and we are seeing the direction that they're starting to go in. And one of the things that concerns me is the open persecution of the Christian church in America is apparently going to be a priority for the Democrats this time around. The Girly Man candidate, Pete Buttigieg, he is openly challenging Vice President Pence. He's saying that Vice President Pence uses his faith to, quote, hurt people. Well, Pence has never said a bad word about this Buttigieg. And so what is it that Pence does? He holds weekly Bible studies with his staff. And he is so determined to be loyal to his wife that he will not have dinner with another woman alone. And he has been savagely ridiculed for both of those.
Right.
And the fact that Buttigieg is making this an issue with the words hurts people, this is setting up for a debate against the Christian church, that men and women of faith who hold to good moral standards are somehow hurting, or as the LGBT crowd puts it, committing violence against the homosexuals because of our refusal to go along with their demands.
Well, they even went so far in the intellectual community to construct these mythical and hypothetical forms of aggression. They're called microaggressions.
Yeah.
Hate speech. Your video today, our First Amendment rights do not protect you from getting your feelings hurt by someone who disagrees. And I could say I detest that. Put it this way. I detest the idea of burning the American flag. But as much as I detest that, the court has said that is a exercise of your First Amendment right. I think that's going too far. I don't agree with the court, but my point being is that if someone wants to call me names, what am I supposed to do? Say I need grief counseling? Man up. Grow a pair.
Well, that's another issue. Man up. We've been hearing complaints of the left about toxic masculinity. The feminists have been railing against manhood for years, And manhood is now on the chopping block for the Democrat Party. That one reason this Buttigieg is rising as a star in the Democrat Party is because the guy is an out and out sissy. He's a weak, effeminate man who represents what Democrats consider to be the ideal man. Masculinity is under attack in America, and we, the people, need to rise up and show them that masculinity, like the First Amendment, is also alive and well in America. You know, God designed men to be the leaders in the home, the church, and I believe in the government. And a lot of people aren't going to like hearing this, but one of the biggest mistakes America ever made was when we started voting massive numbers of women into legislatures. I think it's time to start moving back towards male leadership throughout the United States at all levels.
I won't go as far as you're going with that. Let me say it a different way, because we do agree, I think. Think of Golda Meir.
Yeah.
Okay, she was a strong leader. I don't have a problem with women getting elected to leadership positions, but it needs to be on their qualifications, and the qualification that they are a woman doesn't count.
There was I don't remember who it was, but one of the members of Congress proposed legislation that anytime there is an election to a government body where women are less than 50% of the number, that the woman candidate automatically wins the election regardless of the vote. That's how far they're taking it.
They're trying to grade on the curve, and it's all based. It's identity politics. It's outcome engineering, and America. I mean, this is so basic. So this is this is civics 101. America has always been a land of equal opportunity, or at least that's the goal. All right, that's the objective. That's the policy. There's a lot of players that start equally on the starting line of a race, but the outcome is not equal.
That's right.
And we are trying to look at outcome and engineer outcomes to achieve some kind of parity or equality. Well, this just goes against common sense. It goes against the heritage of this country, because there is an advantage of letting the survival of the fittest win. Because now the ones who lose get better.
We're not doing that. The left is doing that. What they're doing is they're trying to manipulate it so that their losers are declared winners. They don't like fair competition, Mark.
Yeah. You got a point there. Well, and they'll rig the game. Well, see, it fits their worldview, though, because in their mind, the means is justified in the end. Their utopian, hysteria of this ideal socialist whatever, if it takes violence, if it takes trampling on our Constitution and our individual liberties, they feel like it's worth it. Where principled people like Christians and conservatives question... we're principled, and we stick to it, and that can be a hindrance to achieving the objective on the political landscape, it seems.
Well, we're right back to, do we wag our tails or do we show our fangs? And I think, generally speaking, Christian conservatives have been far too passive when dealing with the liberal left. Now, as America's leading liberalologist, I've been studying these issues for years, and I can tell your audience that liberalism is founded upon the rejection of God and His Word. Mm-hmm. Everything they do springs from that worldview. And you know very well God's position on dealing with people like that. You do not compromise with evil. You do not appease evil. And the rejection of God and God's word is the very definition of evil in this world. I say it's time for Christians to stop trying to make lovey-dovey with the liberal left and start handling things John the Baptist style.
Yeah, Bill, I have several collaborators, and I'll share. I won't mention any names because I think this speaks to what you're saying. I have one collaborator that is particularly hooked on this idea that we've got to get the word out. We've got to inform people. And I say, well, I'm not against truth. I'm not against seeking truth and proposing truth. I said, the problem is you assume that if they only knew it was that way, that it would somehow change. Even the fat person knows they're fat. Okay? So information, getting the word out there, in and by itself isn't enough. You've got to have inspiration that has, or information that has as its purpose inspiration. Okay? Because until you make that move from the head to the heart, it's only 18 inches, but it's a long way. Once you get inspiration, you can get motivation, and motivation means movement, kinetic movement. You're doing something. And from now there, I know some highly motivated people who don't do anything. You know the kind I'm talking about, Bill?
Yeah, we talked about earlier, the frustrated consumers who sit at their keyboard and grind their teeth.
They're highly motivated, but they're not activated. Now,
right.
And then what makes all this work is leadership. Okay, all of this, it's a team. And if there's a team, there's a coach. The team has, and this is what we do as a coach, okay? We show them the techniques, we recruit, we inform them, we inspire them, we motivate them, we activate them. But it has to be within the context of a plan. No coach would ever go out there and say, go out there and win the game. That's not a plan. Okay. You have to have a plan. So I think in all four of those areas, we are seriously missing the mark. And I think that we have hope that we can make progress in all those areas. And if we do, the plan works. But it's a long plan, and a lot of people aren't willing to be patient to win the long game.
You have a good point there. Patience is not one of our strong points when it comes to conservative America. But let's also not forget that faith comes through hearing, and hearing by the word of Christ. The Bible speaks for itself, and conservatism is founded upon America's traditional Christian heritage. And I believe that the scriptures speak to the human heart. So that's why I am all in for getting the scriptures out into the public. And without that kind of guidance, we're kind of beating a dead horse. We will never win this battle in our own power. And you know full well that this is a spiritual battle, probably more so than a political battle. So
it is. I've been proclaiming that we are not in a political crisis or problem, or it's spiritual. The solution will have to be spiritual. My key verses on that is Ephesians chapter 6, verses 10 through 18 or so. You could go as far as 20. My daughter could actually recite those verses from memory when she was 5 years old. That's how important the full armor is to my life. It was put in there for a reason, and I think that we do need to understand we are at war. And if we're going to be at war, we need to start acting like a soldier.
Right, right.
What was that stupid song we used to sing in Vacation Bible School? I may never march in the infantry, shoot the artillery, blah, 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 but I'm in the Lord's army. Remember that one?
No, I missed out on that.
Oh, yeah, you'll have to YouTube that one and Google it. But I thought, what a stupid song. Because I would ask the question, doing what?
Well, yeah.
You're not shooting, you're not doing anything, but you're just proud that you're in the Lord's army, but you're not doing anything. Oh, okay. Somehow that's, you want a trophy from me for that? No. Hey.
A pretty good description of the old Tea Party.
There you go. All right, Bill, we going with a white hat next week, or no? How are we going to do it?
This is my Bernie Sanders approach. Too much racism in America. All right.
All right.
Next week.
All right. So, Bill, you'll be on the beach sunrise tomorrow morning, right?
Sunrise tomorrow morning. That's right. Easter Sunday. Easter Sunday.
I'm actually off tomorrow. We were originally scheduled to work, but I told my employer that none of our customers are open. So we actually get the day off. Where I work, AutoZone is open on the days that end in Y. Okay.
That's the American way.
You know, people complain, I remind them, I say, when you applied for this job, you either knew or should have known we're open every day. Okay.
It didn't used to be that way. I drove past 7-Eleven on the way to the beach this morning. I was thinking, I remember
That's for
7-Eleven.
you. I do too.
And they were unique. They opened at 7 a.m.
7
where
a.m.
all other stores wouldn't open until 9, and they stayed open until 11 o'clock at night. That had never been done before. That's how they got their name. I remember what a unique concept that was. So
Yeah. Well, I remember when CVS and Ecker and all that, they quit selling tobacco because tobacco is a drug. I thought, well, they're a drugstore. Well, Bill, hey, thanks for joining us tonight. It's a pleasure, and I'm glad to see you back on track. And I keep seeing those videos, Bill. Bill puts out about, I don't know, 2 to 3 videos a week, sometimes more. And it instantly gets thousands of views. So subscribe to the YouTube channel Wild Bill for America. Bill, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week, and we'll figure out the hat between now and then.
all right. Good talking. Thanks for having me on.
Have a good night, Bill. Take care. Folks, what an honor to have Wild Bill for America as a part of the PJNET team. And you can find Wild Bill for America right here each Saturday night starting at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, of course, it is broadcast live on YouTube, and that live broadcast will become a YouTube video. So when you see the video, share it. Put it on Facebook or Twitter or Gab or whatever you're on. Email it to your friends. Okay? It's great stuff. Hey, we look forward to seeing you. We will be back live. Not tomorrow night, but Monday night with Casper for Colorado. We've already got some material that we're working on together, and he will bring you some perspective from his state and some of the things going on. Look up Colorado HB 1032 if you want to do some research on your own between now and then. But for now, we'll sign it off. Thanks for joining us, and thank you again, Wild Bill for America, right here on PJNet Live.